Hey guys, I'm back with another writing video, but this one is a little different than usual because all of my writing videos of late have been about Project Assassin, my young adult fantasy novel. I will be working on draft 3 of it, but before I do that, I'm taking a break and I actually wanted to revisit one of my other ones, Project Hometown, which is kind of like adult literary set in the 90s. I did most of the writing of it back in 2024, and then I did some more in 2025, like the first half of 2025, and then since then I haven't really done any work on it, and also I never actually finished it, which is kind of just a trend with all of the novels that I write. I pretty much get to like the beginning of Act 3 and then I give up. Once I get to like the end of Act 2, beginning of Act 3, I don't know why. I don't know why I get so far into it and then I just can't finish it. I just can't wrap things up. I guess I hate the idea of it ending. I think what it is I'm afraid to finish a draft of it and then look at it and say it's horrible. So if it's constantly in flux and unfinished, then it feels a lot safer. Anyway, I'm trying to fix that, and I'm trying to actually finish my writing projects. This is Project Hometown, and I'm a little bit of the ways into Act 3, not quite halfway into Act 3, but probably pretty close to it. And I was thinking of just like recalling what I remember from this and then just trying to pick up from it, but I do think I might have to like reread it. But I don't know, because I don't know if I want to reread the whole thing. Right now it's sitting at about 67,000 words. I was initially going to reread the whole thing, but I just made a video of me rereading a different draft. I don't want it to be confusing. I think I'm just going to reread the last several chapters. So at least what I have for Act 3 and maybe a little bit of what I have for the end of Act 2. Just to like reorient myself, refamiliarize myself with the story, because it has been so long since I like wrote anything meaningfully towards it. The plan is to write the less than 10,000 words, I think, needed to finish this. And then maybe I'll go back to working on my other project, or maybe I'll even work on a whole new project. I don't know, but I just want to finish. I'm really trying to finish my manuscripts this year. That's kind of like the thing. I don't want to start new manuscripts until I've actually finished at least rough drafts of all of my other works in progress, and Project Hometown is the one that has like the second most words to it. Definitely the other one, Project Assassin, has the most with over 100,000 words, which it still needs work, but this one is the next longest. I'm gonna read some of it and then maybe share some of my thoughts. I don't know. Alright guys, update. I only ended up reading like the little bit that I had for Act 3. Part of I think what the problem is when I get into Act 3 is that I never really outline it very well. To be fair, I didn't really do too much outlining much in like the history of my writing because I don't know, just the way I tend to write, I feel like a lot of times I'm more like, well, discovery writer for one. I feel like the story can kind of writes itself. Of course, not really, because then when I hit a roadblock, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to progress. And I think kind of what it takes, well, at least with what just happened to me just now, it's like I think I write as much as I can and then I leave. I had a lot more clarity coming back to it. Like, it's been upwards of a year since I really worked on this project at all, and I didn't really know what to do with the third act. But I'm not going to show you because all spoilers, but I just wrote in my notebook kind of like a breakdown of what I want the finale to look like. So this is actually an interesting thing because this story is one that I actually made an outline for, like Save the Cat. Those beats, I made like a beat sheet before I started writing it, which is very different from my fantasy one that I'm working on. And I actually started a scene by scene outline, but I kind of gave up on that because I did just veer away from it, which is part of why I didn't outline for so long, because the story just ended up going in a different way than I was anticipating most of the time. So if I do outline, I have to keep it pretty broad, and I have to like understand that I'm probably definitely going to re-outline. But this story is interesting because I actually always knew how it was going to end. Not the whole finale, just like the very end. When I usually come up with a story, it's like a character in a situation, or sometimes it's just a scene between characters, and then I kind of develop a context. With this story, I always knew where it was going to go, and it was just a matter of getting it there in the right way. I just did a little bit of an outline for what I want the finale to look like, and it does actually look a little bit different than what I thought. Like, what I had planned to happen is still going to happen, but there's a little bit slightly different with like the resolution of everything, which is very interesting, and so I'm excited about it. But part of what really helped me crack the finale is I stopped to think about the problem, the want, and the need of the character. If you're familiar with Save the Cat Writes a Novel, that's definitely something Jessica Brody talks about keeping in mind, and I would try to, but I just never really can make it work because there's like the lie you believe and like all these different things, and it just was very confusing to me. So I used to try to sometimes apply it, but it's only through trial and error and like doing things that don't work, I feel, that I've actually figured anything out. Writing multiple projects, I feel like if you write your first story and you pin all of your hopes on it, well, it's not fair to you as a writer because you learn so much by writing multiple stories, I think. That's not to say that I'm disregarding my first project, which is the young adult fantasy one, Project Assassin. That's the story of my heart, but I come back to it after I've worked on other projects. That's kind of how all my projects are. I kind of like switch between all of them. Anyway, so now I feel like this new energy, like reinvigorated in terms of what I'm going to do with this finale, and I think it feels a lot more satisfying. For one, in terms of like the emotional facet of the story, like if you're thinking in the context of like Save the Cat, like the B story, the internal whatever, that change from the beginning of the story to the end of the story, I feel like it's a lot more satisfying the way I'm doing this. I don't adhere to any one person's teaching or anything like that, like so strictly, but I do like to take notes from various things and apply where I feel it fits. So yes, making sure I understand the problem that the character has at the beginning, the want for how they think what will fix the problem, and then what actually will fix the problem. And really just seeing it from my eyes now and not just the eyes of someone who hadn't even started writing the story yet. Knowing what I know now about this character, about the story and everything, I can get to the finish line with this story. I'm planning this video is going to be me finishing the first draft of this manuscript. I don't know how long this is going to take me. I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to write today because I have to leave for work soon, and then when I get home I might be too exhausted. I don't know, we'll see. I'm happy, I'm excited. Okay. guys, updates. It's the next day. Yesterday I wrote well, my Scrivener word count was a little bit funky, but I'm thinking I wrote like almost 4,000 words. I don't know. I'll have whatever the accurate amount up several seconds ago. But now all I have to write is the epilogue. And this book, I didn't initially have any intentions for it to have an epilogue. But it does now with my most recent outlining of the finale. So now there's going to be an epilogue, and I have today to write it because I want to put this video up tomorrow and I want to be done filming. So yeah, all I have to do is write the epilogue and then this first draft will be done. Scary, but also I know that draft 2 will have like a lot of overhauling and changes and stuff. So I already know that. So this is definitely like a rough draft, but I don't know. It's kind of scary, and it is kind of scary specifically with me working on Act 3 / the finale, because I'm writing it and I'm like, this might be a little bit stupid. Like what I always knew how this was gonna end, blah blah blah. Like I said, I'm a little bit scared that it's dumb and bad. Brother, I just got a pop-up that said I hit 75,000 words. I have 75,001 words. But I'm not done. I'm almost done. I don't know exactly how much more, but I have a little bit more. Hi guys, I was trying to figure out where in my house I could film where nobody else would hear me talking to myself, so I'm literally in my basement right now. But bro, I finished the draft, kind of. If I'm honest, I'm not like completely happy with how I ended it because it feels like the tone doesn't completely match the rest of the story. It almost feels like kind of a sweet way to end it, and the book is like so not sweet. But I don't know, it's a little bit tricky, but I think I'm gonna not let myself try to I don't know, because I probably should try to like work out the kinks of it before I call the draft done, because it kind of is like just the last little bit, but I don't want to like waste time and then have the problem like I was saying where I just never finish it. You know what I'm talking about? I'm not exactly sure, but it's like kind of crazy. I kind of feel like I finished it, a first draft, because there's so many changes I need to make and I know it, but it's not as bad as my fantasy one, where when I finished my first draft, I knew that it was gonna be so different. Like, different to the point where I wrote like 50,000 new words on the end of it. So, not really comparable, the changes that this one requires versus what that one required. So, that's kind of where I'm at with this story. I guess I'm done with the first draft. Which is crazy. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say, I guess. Stay tuned for eventually whenever I get to reading it and revising. It feels weird and strange. But I guess good, but I do feel a little bit like the very, very end of it. Like, yeah, the ending. Like the last page of the book. The last 1 or 2 pages. I'm like, I don't know, but that is what subsequent drafts are for, right? I do kind of have like that feeling of like I completed something, but also I'm a little bit, it's like what I was talking about, I was afraid of it being where I completed it and I'm like, wow, this is crap, but it is what it is. And so that's like scary. And so yeah, that's kind of what this is. But I don't know, I guess overall it is good, if a little bit like mixed and conflicting. Thank you so much for watching. Now that I have this first draft done, that's so freaking epic, bro. That's like really cool because I never finish anything. And it's only the first rough draft, but it is still a completion. That's freaking awesome. Okay, that's actually cool. So I'm probably going to like do a short story next, which is weird because I never do short stories. I wrote one short story in my life, and then I started another short story and I didn't even finish it. How do you start a short story and not finish it? Like short stories, it's like a chapter in a novel. I'm going to maybe write a short story and I'll make a video. I'll make a video about it. I don't know. I might resume work on Project Assassin, but I might work on something else. But in the meantime, I wanted to finish first draft of Project Hometown. Check. Write a short story. Not check, but we'll be there shortly. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you join me for my future writing things. Bye bye.